Welcome back to another Experts in AI video here at the AI Summit in New York. I'm Ben Wadecki, the lead writer and editor on AIbusiness.com. Joining me today, I'm a little bit outnumbered, is Robert Christiansen and Matt Maccaux, both from HPE. Gents, thanks for joining us. How's it going?
It's going quite well, thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
No, it's been a pleasure. I mean, I'm a little bit outnumbered, so I'm a little bit worried, but I'm sure it'll be fine. So, gentlemen, give us a little bit of outline quickly about what you guys do at HPE.
So I'm Robert Christiansen. I'm with the Office of the CTO. I look at strategy. I wear a pair of 18-month to 24-month binoculars. I'm always looking for what's coming in to guide us into our strategy and technology. Been in that office for about 3 years now. Previous acquisition, that's how I joined HPE.
Thanks. And Matt, how did you get into it?
I represent our cloud services group, and I look at 0 to 18 months as part of the go-to-market and infusing that back into the product organization. So I spend a lot of time talking with clients and prospects in our field to get them enthusiastic about artificial intelligence and these emerging trends.
Well, you two seem extremely enthusiastic, and there's a double act clearly going on here.
Yeah.
And we'll delve into that a little bit because you guys gave a keynote earlier today at the event on the future of advanced analytics. And let's take things back a little bit on that, because you mentioned about in that speech about legacy deployments. Matt, let's come to you first, I'm afraid. In your eyes, what's wrong with legacy deployments?
Well, there's all this technical debt that has accumulated over the years and years and years. We can go back decades now with some of these data systems. Mainframes still do a lot of data processing and have some data storage, but even the modern systems, warehouses, lakes, they come with so much technical debt, and organizations are not sure how to reduce that pile. They're thinking cloud native, and they're really struggling with the best way to go approaching that. And so the way we see it is that by piling more technical debt on top of existing technical debt without really getting a good lay of the land, the landscape, to then build on is going to be extremely problematic for these organizations.
Thank you. And Robert, how are you looking at things from your view? You're looking a little bit further ahead, but in legacy, in your eyes, talk us through your views.
Well, it's about meeting the client where they are. All right, so we see quite a tsunami of compliance, regulatory bodies, systems that need to be governed in a much different way than what Matt was talking about earlier. And that tsunami of regulation, of governance, of legacy, of lineage, of data is really going to have to take hold of the organizations today. And just getting our clients to what we call a phase one of maturity of where data is and what it is such a key first step for most organizations who simply cannot define what they know about their clients and where it's located. So consider, any of the social media platforms where you have to be able to delete somebody's data. If you don't know where you've been ETLing it and where it's going and what data swamp it's landing in and stuff like that, how are you supposed to delete it? So just getting a hold of that what and where for a lot of these legacy systems today is a first order step for them. And that's kind of what we're looking at in that future motion.
But in the concept of legacy systems, I mean, HPE is as old as time itself in the tech world.
Yeah.
And, maybe a legacy brand in that instance, but can you guys talk us through, what have you guys done to drag yourselves forward in terms of AI?
Well, I'll talk from how we are looking at going in the future, and Matt can talk about what we're doing, today that I think is really relevant. One of the key fundamentals that we offer here at HPE is that nobody has been doing AI at scale longer than HPE, right? We have the largest computers in the world all the way down to little half-rack systems that are super ruggedized that can go underwater and be hit with a bat, okay? So we love that kind of stuff. So all of this runs some various forms of modeling and stuff like that. We are continuing to grow that stack as a complete solution. And what I mean by complete solutions is very targeted healthcare, financial services, retail transactions, pharma, et cetera. These areas are very important for my group as we look to say, hey, how do we can turn the client into much more of a relationship at that actual application level? And I think that's where HPE will continue to grow.
And Matt, how are you looking at things?
So I think there's two fundamental things that people probably don't recognize about what HPE is doing in this space. The first is we can address the customer problems from end to end, from the moment they acquire the data to the moment that data gets retired, and how it moves throughout that process from identification to wrangling to movement to modeling to training. We have the software, we have the infrastructure, and we have the services to address the entire thing with the technology portfolio. But the second part that most people don't realize is that we can deliver that entire package based on our customers' metrics. Not how many cores do I buy, not how many cycles am I going to use. Tell me the business metrics. What compliance do you have? How many data scientists need to use the system? At what speeds? And then we are on the hook with severe penalties to make that happen. Nobody can say that they do that other than HPE, not the hyperscalers. No other software vendor can say they do that. HPE delivers that entire package as a solution.
Matt, I'm going to jump straight back to you quickly, because some people are looking to upgrade and improve. I mean, the last 12 months to 24 months has shown that, things need kicking up the backside in order to get things moving again. The pandemic has probably been a good thing in that respect. What do you think brands need to improve overall in terms of upgrade, when looking at upgrading?
I think they need to be looking more towards open source and open standards. I see this trend, and I fear that a lot of organizations are going from one legacy system that is proprietary to a cloud-based proprietary system that may give them more agility in the short term, but it is accumulating all of that technical debt. And I fear that organizations, whether it's an industry vertical solution or a platform that is not based on open source with open standards and open APIs, is going to drive these organizations back into the same place they were. They might get some agility in the short term, but in the long term, it's going to ultimately cost them, and we're going to be right back where we started.
And Robert, how are you looking at things? Because you're the one with the binoculars looking 24 months ahead. What do you say to those brands that are looking to upgrade? Because, Matt's covering the now, but 24 months ahead is a long time for some of these brands.
Absolutely. And I can't say that historically these brands had choice.
Yeah.
Okay, what they see is they have a whole bunch of technical debt. Their data engineering teams, their scientists, et cetera, who are looking to bring value and change the brand, say to themselves, hey, I need solutions now. And their only play historically has been, I'm going to public cloud. All right, let me make a copy of my data, let me mash it up and stick it on some public cloud, and now I have a stack, and now I'm right back to what Matt just said, okay, which was I'm locked into their APIs, their governance processing, that type of thing. What HPE has started and has already been implementing and will continue to implement is our Green Lake services for our AI solutions, meaning that leave your data where it is. Take advantage of the investments that you already have, the systems you already have, and have adjacency of platforms and solutions, pay as you go, okay, consumption models, and have that same cloud agility model on premises, in your co-location, or on the edge. And you will see us continue to accelerate that and build out that stack in services, but more so in point-to-point locations, very much as we push out towards the edge further and further and further.
So no more cloud for the sake of cloud.
Well, yeah, there's got to be a plan, another opportunity. There's really not a horse race if you only have one horse, right? So let's be clear. We want to be able to say, hey, spend less, do less, get more, go with HPE and deliver near your data.
Of course. Matt, I wanted to, again, talk about these acceleration ideas because, I referenced it previously about the pandemic. From the work that you guys have been doing with some brands, how have you seen people, look to accelerate those plans? How have you seen it?
So I think the number one challenge most technology organizations are facing today is attracting and retaining talent. Every director or executive I speak to says, I can't hire people fast enough, and it's slim pickings out there. And so what they should be thinking about is having an attractive work environment from a technology perspective, the human resources aside. And what people want to have on their resumes and CVs is the latest and greatest technology. And sometimes that means public cloud, but more importantly, it means the foundational technologies, the open source components. That is a more valuable skill to have on your resume. And so if you're a shop that is using a proprietary tool, you are less likely to attract talent than a shop that has more open source tools. And so I think the pandemic has really focused organizations to look closely at the type of technologies they are going to adopt now and in the future, because as it relates to the people they can get to do the work. And I think that as organizations realize that, they're going to get a competitive advantage through their people implementing the technology.
Anything to add?
Yeah. I would say the most important thing here, but I'm going to tag on what he just said around talent. I have a different focus on talent than Matt does. Matt's talking about talent inside our brand and our organizations. I'm talking about, hey, just as an organization itself and nurturing and attracting talent. For us at HPE, the CTO office is heavily focused on supporting the innovators. What I mean by supporting the innovators is not only do we give them tools and technologies that allow them to stay current, which is on the top of mind of every technologist, but more importantly, what are the soft skills that are necessary for them to communicate the narrative, the storyline that they're trying to deal with when you're trying to deliver these AI values? I think that one of the most important things that this conference has taught me of any other things is what COVID has done to storytelling. It's killed it. I mean, if I could go into this whole environment and say, hey guys, time out, get your narrative straight, right? Then we can go tell good stories around this stuff. And I think that what we're doing here at HPE, specifically in our CTO office, is help people from a talent improvement. Really starting to feed them a lot more skills than just what bits do I twiddle and what bytes do I spin, right? This is a very important part for us.
Of course, I myself have had plenty of time to reflect in the last 12 months.
Yeah.
But we're coming into a new year now. We're in December here at New York. How are you guys looking at those acceleration plans going ahead for 2020? Have either of you heard anything from brands that are thinking, actually, now we want to quickly get and jump ahead now? Or are people waiting about? Or what have you guys seen? Matt, we'll jump with you.
Yeah, so acceleration is important, but I get the sense that it's going to be measured. With the proliferation of data, of applications in containers across hybrid and edge environments, security is probably, it's a topic unto itself, but organizations are thinking about security in every aspect. This concept of shifting that security left earlier in the development and deployment process is now becoming top of mind, and it's happening as part of the data and AI teams as well. And so that means actually slowing down a little bit, actually being thoughtful about these security aspects and realizing that the four walls of our perimeter is no longer our estate. We have assets that are out in edges and clouds, and those are assets to our organization. It's data, it's services, it's where we're touching our customers. There needs to be a secure experience or we're going to lose those customers. So I do sense acceleration, but it's very pragmatic and thoughtful.
I'm with him. I think that 2022 and partially 2023 is going to be a huge inflection.
Okay.
And what I mean by inflection is the rapid acceleration of funded AI projects within brands. I just think that they're going to go crazy with this stuff, mostly because of technology abundance.
Okay.
We have the abundance of technology, and the platforms by which people can develop these applications have become more sophisticated and less complex. And when you do that, you get really creative innovators out there that said, hey, if I had this right set of data, I could do that, all right? And so they're gonna go out and get money for it, all right? We are in completely uncharted territories over this next several years about the speed and the inflection points that we're going to see in multiple industries around what AI can do. What's going to happen is that a lot of people who have to run this stuff at scale are going to do exactly what he just said and say, time out, okay, before we release this to the wild, let's make sure we've got our governance controls, our monitoring, our observability stuff in place. And oh, by the way, let's not forget that many governments right now are all moving towards controlling or putting some sort of ethical AI in place and managing that.
So this time next year, we'll have a little bit of a better view then of compared to what we do now.
I say that the better view, what the question is really, what does the better view mean? Okay, so the better view to me is it's going to look like cloud was in 2016 and 2017. This massive explosion of adoption. We're going to see developers going from classic developers into data developers. We're going to see the classic, web developing people are going to go straight into low-code, no-code systems and building them out for the citizen users. We're going to see so many of those activities, but we're going to still be held back by what he's talking about by releasing it. So there's going to be this big pent-up demand that's going to happen.
So the experts videos often talk about the experts themselves, not just the company. We've all spoken about HPE arm's length, probably more than most this week.
Yeah.
But we want to know what you guys are up to next year. Specifically, you're looking to 24 months. You're looking to the now. What can we expect from Robert and Matt going into 2022?
So we have two major projects that we have going on inside HPE right now. We talked about our last Discover show, and we're still accelerating them. The first one is what we call our Project Cloverfield, which is a horizontal edge compute platform, which basically takes all the off-the-shelf systems that we have here at HPE. It's kind of the best of play, right? Now, getting a $30 billion company that's across hundreds of geos around the world, right, to get to adopt a common edge platform is a really heavy lifting. And so what we found is that when we stitch all these together in a hands-free automated platform that is driven by a data fabric, life just gets really good. So we're starting to see that right now manifest itself into manufacturing, into healthcare, and into the finances. And we're going to see that manifest big time over the next year and a half for us.
I love the name, by the way. I think J.J. Abrams might have a problem with it with his Cloverfield series.
Yeah. No, but I just think it's a great name.
Of course. And Matt, what can we expect from you next year in your work?
I would expect a lot more organizations adopting this as a service mantra, realizing that they don't have the skills to deploy this next set of complex technology securely. They're going to be looking to partners to help them get 90% of the way there. And they're going to be asking partners like HPE to manage a lot of that stack for them. That's going to be the easier button for them to be pushing, because the businesses, as Robert said, there's all this pent up demand. These businesses from the top down are going to be demanding more. The only way they're going to be able to deliver more is if they augment themselves. And HPE has a really appealing offer to say, what are your business metrics? We will hit those. Don't worry about it. And I think the pedigree, you talked about HPE being an older organization, the pedigree, it's a well-respected organization and well-trusted in these companies that I think this is going to be an easier conversation for us to have going forward.
Well, next year, let's have that conversation again then. In that case, we'll rearrange and let's get going. But until then, it's been a pleasure. Thank you both for your time. Thank you.
Look forward to it next year, Ben. Thanks.
Thank you.